This was actual censorship. Listen to this. Audio soundbite 10. This is Zuckerberg talking about this with Joe Rogan.
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. Well, who knew? So this is actual censorship. They were telling. So FBI, not only was the FBI telling agents to not investigate the Hunter Biden laptop story, which is just basically like the digital diary version of what Ashley Biden put under her drug flophouse mattress, but they were telling Facebook to minimize anything that had to, any of it, any stories about Hunter Biden. That's the government, that's censorship. That's the very definition of censorship. And so they had to use an algorithm to suppress the story when it first came out. We know that they did that, but they did it to affect an election because this was right before the presidential election. They did this to influence the turnout of an election. And it was pretty much like the day after the FBI told them this, that they said, oh, this laptop is disinformation. So Facebook is seeing that. Zuckerberg and them are seeing that all of these talking heads are going out there saying this laptop is misinformation. It wasn't, but you know what I mean. And so they started censoring it. This is censorship. This is a company that's acting as an agent of the state and executing a policy of censorship to protect a presidential candidate right before an election so as to affect the outcome of the election. You had all of these senior intelligence officials, a handful of them, had lied in front of Congress when they were testifying. You had Clapper who lied about spying on people. You had them lying about droning Americans overseas. All kinds of stuff. I mean, serious stuff these are egregious violations of law and due process that other people would be in jail for forever over. But you have Democrat privilege. You can abuse government agencies and you can use them to carry out your political vendetta. These people don't get to tell average Americans that they can't criticize these bureaus or these agencies, or they have to somehow put kid gloves on their language, so to speak, so as to not hurt rank and file. There's some rank and file coming forward, but I mean, this is stupid. Because has this administration been using? Have they been careful with their language when they said that this was a pandemic of the unvaccinated? Have they been careful with their language when they said that it's MAGA Republicans they don't respect? Have they been careful with their language when they called parents domestic terrorists and actually categorized them as that with a tag in their software so that when they searched these cases, parents who were simply speaking out at school board meetings were coming up as potential domestic terrorists? So do not for one damn second tell me or anybody else to watch our language so we don't hurt the feelings of rank and file. It's rank and file Americans that the government should be afraid of. And that's the creation of our republic. It lives on that healthy fear. And the left can't stand it because they view themselves in big government as one and the same. And so they consider the very existence and the nature of our established republic to be a threat itself. Asinine. That's what this is. It is absolute censorship. And for Zuckerberg to it's just crazy. Be vigilant. There's going to be some kind of dump, something similar to that. He said that his protocol was different from Twitter's, and that Twitter said you can't share it at all. Is it, though? I mean, Twitter suspended my account. And I was just one of thousands of people. I didn't even actually share the New York Post story. I wrote about how tech was using algorithms to suppress it and what they were doing, and they censored it. But they suspended my account. Facebook made you to where you couldn't be seen. So isn't that, I mean, at this point, it's just semantics. Twitter said you couldn't share it at all. Facebook made it to where no one could tell if you did. Is it really that different? One just used a little bit of a different method just so that they could have the appearance of plausible deniability. Decreased distribution. That's like unconscious coupling. That's a Gwyneth Paltrow phrase. Decreased distribution. They suppressed accounts so that no one could see it. So no, they weren't actually allowing you to share it. Yeah, if you want to have a discussion about what is fascism, that's not even semi-fascism. That's full-on fascism. Golly. It's astounding. It's censorship. And then this brings up the question, more discussion about Section 230, all of this stuff. Because you're acting now, and you're not even acting as a facilitator. You're acting as, not even as a publisher at this point. You're acting as an agent of state. And when the government's telling companies to suppress speech, even if the companies are executing it, it's a directive of the government. That's censorship. And when you're doing it to protect a strongman, well, you know what I mean. That's fascism. The inability to criticize Hunter Biden, a 50-something-year-old skanky, nasty druggie who screws anything that walks, snorts anything that looks like white powder, and records on anything that he thinks has a camera? Come on. Just ridiculous. That's censorship.